Welcome everyone back to the Pobby and Oz channel. If you're new around here, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe. It really helps the channel out and I can't thank you enough for the support. Today we're here with the hit show TRENDZ, where we're going to be taking a look at the Tassie Devils and what they need to do to hit the ground running when they enter the competition in the scheduled 2028 edition. So let's run that intro and get straight into it.
I just slide right by that energy. Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never ran, said no, man, I still go. Go, 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 go.
The AFL have previous from new clubs. We've got the models of Gold Coast Suns and the GWS Giants, and both have had hits and both have had big misses, particularly Gold Coast, where the influx was throwing money at the problem and trying to get them to be a side of superstars with some ragtag players. It's taken them about 8 to 9 years to really get a balanced list because of this. But also then we look at GWS, who have really suffered from teams moving into state, players wanting to play there, as of Gold Coast, but they have had a bit more success. So there is two good models for the AFL to look at and go, okay, these are the mistakes we've made. Let's make sure that we don't make them again. So we're going to start this journey at the end of 2025. And I think that the big part of this is that the 2026 competition in the VFL, Tasmania have a team. Wouldn't it be great to see that green and gold Guernsey in the VFL leagues? And one of the big caveats of that is the big clubs, the big followed clubs, your Collingwoods, your Carltons, your Essendons, your Richmonds, your WA sides and your South Australian sides, which we expect Port Adelaide are going to defect to that state league competition, play their games against Tasmania in Tasmania. Starting to get that little familiarity with what is going on, getting the brand names, getting a real good encouragement in that. I'd also suggest that at least two of the big carnivals, the big state games, they do a gather round in Tasmania for the young talent. The reason being that we're going to have a heavy focus on them drafting Tasmanian talent. Now, the big thing for this, in that 2025 period, we want delisted free agents and players out there totally eligible, and Tasmania have first refusal. So what they can do there is list players on a 4-year deal, a 2-year VFL deal and a 2-year AFL deal. And what this could be is players, you know, that are genuinely with maybe a little bit of AFL nous that can help build their young contingent up. The big clubs, like we say, forced out there in VFL, and the first 3 picks in the mid-season draft of that 2026 year. Obviously, this is going to take a little bit of a shake-up from the AFL. The AFL are going to have to look at ways of negating the salary cap in the VFL and keeping it fair. But in this scenario here, if they've got access to state league players, they've got a bigger salary, they can start building a core contingent. And obviously with the local lads there in the state leagues, but also bringing some delisted AFL talent, they can start to build the AFL readiness for the next stage. At the end of that season, we allow them to enter the draft. Given 2 first-rounders, I would suggest a mid and a late one, 2 second-rounders and 5 third-rounders. And Tasmania get the NGA from North Melbourne and Hawthorn in this period, and that would cause a reshuffle. So the season before that would be announced, we reallocate the zones, and now Tasmania have their own NGA, where they can pre-list these players outside of the draft for an exposure of one of their first rounders that goes to Tasmania, or that goes to the Tasmanian NGA. So what I mean by that is, let's say we give them pick 10, say there's a kid there, if that's matched by them, that pick goes straight to Hawthorn or Tasmania, whichever player is in which academy. They're given priority access to the pre-season draft, the supplementary draft at the end of the draft for any delisted players, and this isn't capped. So I would say here that it's a real onus before we have the rookie draft. They can go in and get what they need and start building for their final year in VFL. They also, I would allow them to enter restricted free agency. And what this would do, it instantly bans the player above the banding. So what I mean by that is if Maribor Cho is, let's say, at pick 20, we give him a little bit of secret sauce, knock him up to pick 15. for them. And what this would allow them to do is really start to access the talent. Now, what we would do is create a little favourable system. So if there is a valid reason, say he is a Tasmanian born, the secret source is a little bit better. This would be public record though, so the AFL and the fans know what's happening. But we're wanting to try and get this side to not have too much draft concessions and more of an onus of bringing in players who are ready to play. They would obviously have this contract where they're in the VFL, but again, it helps protect the players and get them ready for when they're in the AFL. And again, the first 3 picks in the mid-season draft of that year allows them to get the state talent in that they need to really bolster the squad and have the role players. The big one, the season before they kick off, the 2027 draft. And I would be giving this side pick 1, pick 6, pick 9, pick 19, pick 20 and pick 21. And these are all protected by the AFL compensation scheme. So what I mean by that is any RFAs or anything like that, they are protected. They are stonewalled. That's where their picks will be. So what it will help them do is they've got a bit of collateral now to bring in talent now they're ready. These picks would trump father-sons and NGAs, forcing AFL teams to trade with them for these picks and giving them a better draft hand, but also not affecting the other AFL teams in the terms of now, instead of doing that little cheat code of getting 5 second rounders, they can offer this to Tasmania and allow them to have a better draft hand and procure better talent. And also give them a 1 million outside of the cap relief, which would then allow them to try and force them to focus on picking up players that are in the Tassie area. Players like Chase Jones, Lockie, Cowan, Sam Banks, Ryan Mansell. This would be a special contract rule that allows players to break their contract with the AFL clubs on Tasmania, giving special compensation from the AFL and also access to their picks. So this would be a real complex system. But what I'm thinking here is we've given them, say, pick 9, right? Pick 9's too much. So what the AFL do is you can give that pick 9 back to them. That is allocated and Tasmania readjusted on the board. And then Tasmania are affected with a 26 and a 28, maybe a bit later in the draft. But allowing them to get their state league talent. And also I would have a big pre-season draft. So that a pre-selection draft. So they can select up to 4 players born in Tasmania and 1 player born outside of Tasmania for the 2028 pool, who then will skip that junior year but work very closely with the AFL club in the VFL, giving them a total of 5 additional players. And then I would give them a pre-selection draft after the rookie draft where they can select anyone, but also giving them the first 3 picks in that rookie draft and the first 3 picks in the pre-season draft, allowing them to have a list probably at this stage of about 50 players, but going into the AFL season, they would have a sorted team. And then we're having a team here that is stabilised, that has played together for 3 years under this system, but is ready to go. Because that's the big thing. And in this as well, we would then affect the 2028 AFL fixture list. And what that would be the big clubs do play their games in Tasmania. So we're looking at Collingwood, we're looking at Essendon, WA, the clubs with the big followings, the Port Adelaides, the Adelaides of this world, Carltons, going over into Tasmania to really create that. And I would also have the gather round for the next 2 years in Tasmania from 2028. Really trying to show that we're trying to get the game going there and really move forward. So that is my idea for Tasmania. I want to see them getting players like Samuel Banks, Ryan Mansell on that list. I don't want to see them spending all their money on Tom Green and players like that. I think the way to go for them is to procure their talent. There is some really good draftees coming through the system in the next couple of years as well from them, particularly the big Hyphen. Check out him, he is coming soon. But that is, for me, that's the methodology. So let me know what you think in the chat. We'll have a good discussion about it. And until next time, Pom out.
I see her rolling up, Uber black Cadillac, high heel boots and a sexy body full of tats. Baby's bad, oh baby's hella